Hey guys, so this is another video about the framework for balance and change. And so in this video, I'm talking about the uh, aspects of freedom versus justice and how people are often very afraid to admit the reality, which is that freedom and justice are in opposition to each other. And I think I noticed that like this, well, I think I definitely like noticed that there is a very strong how do you call it, like reluctance to admit this reality. I think, people are okay with admitting, oh, wisdom and capability are in opposition, not literally, but they compete, right? Either you maximize your wisdom, you maximize your capability. It's like the sports person, physically, they're very capable, versus the craftsman, which is also capable, but in a different way. Maybe a little more wisdom, maybe like in the center, a little mixed. And then the person that's just much more wisdom. It's like an intellectual, like a historian or a scientist, whatever. And then you have the aspect of like balance, again, balance and versus change. I don't think people are so afraid to admit that, balance and change are in opposition to each other in the sense that they, again, compete. But freedom versus justice, I think a lot of people don't like to admit that reality. And a big part of that is that they don't want to admit that humans are have to, either make a sacrifice. Yeah, basically they have to make sacrifices. They have to either choose they want a lot of freedom or they want a lot of justice. And so if people are like, oh, because people are very used to saying, oh, humans are so good, humans are very caring people and they're totally like altruistic and we're like little angels, we're sent to earth to do many good things, but I don't really buy all of that message. I think that's an illusion. We just tell ourselves that because we want to feel good about ourselves. I would say that humans, we do things. I have a saying, it's the human is a shell. Like all other species, we have the shell, and that's a vessel for change. And so the vessel for change is the shell, and you have the data. The data is going into the shell and it's shaping it. It's like molding it, and the data just keeps going into the shell. And based on what's on the shell, it's what's in the shell. The individual animal, plant, fungi, whatever, will care about the data that's in it. So that data, it cares about what's about the shell and what's directly in the shell. So that's what identity is. Identity is what is in your shell. And so that's basically the whole idea. That's why identity is the strongest motivator. It's stronger than ego, it's stronger than reward, and it's stronger than coercion. So the identity is basically that whole idea. And so when you say, oh, well, people care about people, yes, people care about people because but only the people who they know very well, or they care about a lot of people. And the reason why they do that is because they built up that empathy. They built up that empathy. They also maybe have a strong identity of being a good person, of being a selfless person. And so they want to be more selfless because it's part of their identity. And so that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. But we have to remember that you don't just magically want to be a nice person. You act like a nice person because that's a part of your identity and you care about your identity. If someone destroys your identity, sometimes it feels like you just died. So that's a nuance, right? We're not just like magically good people. Now, bringing that back to freedom versus justice, a lot of people, they want that freedom, and that's actually it's almost like the perfect little trick of how to show that humans really aren't angels, right? Because when you give people the option for freedom and you give the people option for justice, they often choose their own freedom at the expense of others' oppression. They want more and more and more and more freedom. And there's a difference between wanting to fight for the freedom of others and wanting to fight for your own freedom. as long as you're surviving, isn't that enough freedom? Like you're surviving, that's enough freedom. But people want more. They want more freedom and more freedom and more freedom. And then it starts to become oppression, right? Because you're taking more than you need. That's not minimalism anymore. That's maximalization. You're just wanting more and more and more. And what are you doing when you're taking more of that freedom? You're sacrificing justice. Justice is, in my opinion, it's also, besides the rules aspect, which I described in past videos, it's also a sort of equilibrium, a sort of equality. So, yeah, I would say it's more of equality. So, and equilibrium, of course, because of that. But the equality is kind of that justice, and that's kind of like what we think of, usually as humans, where like equality is like justice, and it's also justice is kind of like that. Well, yeah, so it's more like just like what we define as like justice is like this equality. Um, and so, yeah, so it's kind of like one of those little tricks where you give people the option, right, of for freedom. And a lot of the time, they don't have the self control to be like, wait a minute, this has consequences, this has requirements. So remember, justice has two parts, it has requirements beforehand and consequences after the action. And so a lot of people don't even really think about, maybe they think about the requirements first, right? They're like, is this thing going to kill me? Is this thing, now technically killing you is a consequence, but killing also could be a requirement. Like, is it going to drain all my energy out of my body and that's how it does the thing? Or is this going to require me to get like fired from my job to do blah, blah, blah? Or is this going to require a ton of money? Then you have the consequences. Usually those are more like the things that can kill you. Like, is me dropping the knife on my head going to kill me? Is me falling from a building going to kill me? Is like the consequence of the money, meaning, oh, you're going to be like homeless, or you're going to be right. And then because of that, you're also going to be freezing. You're going to be like starving. So it's like, you have many, many consequences. Um, and of course, you have strong consequences, you have weaker consequences, and yeah. And so, but it goes back to that freedom versus the justice, right? The justice is those consequences, those requirements, because of the rules. And a lot of the time, we don't like to, we do it when it relates to our own survival, our own identity. But besides that, we don't really think about it as much naturally because it requires a lot of effort. And humans and other species naturally minimize the effort. So, yeah. So, you'd say, what is the problem? The problem is that, like, at least, how can we solve this problem, right? So, to solve the problem, you want to care, like I was saying, about the identity of justice. How do you do that? It's like virtues. Those people who are who have a lot of strong conscience and a lot of virtues that um, they're very like strict about. They're like, ooh, you need to be a good person, you need to be a minimalist, you need to care about different species. You shouldn't be like speciesist, you shouldn't be like racist or elitist or think you're special, grandiose, and narcissist. You shouldn't be those things. And then you have a strong moral compass, try to understand good versus bad. These are like ways that you can build up that justice in your brain to create a soft justice. So it's like there's the idea the universe has the hard justice, and you want that soft justice. The soft justice isn't absolute like the universe's justice, but if you can at least do it for yourself, and the stronger conscience, the stronger it becomes a part of your identity, then you'll be able to enforce it more often because it'll become a very strong habit and it'll also become a very strong motivator for yourself. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to kind of talk about like, the aspect of why people often, should understand the nuance between freedom versus justice more, and also that it really does show that humans aren't just magically angels. And if you guys do want to care about other people, then you can totally do it. You just need to practice it and build up the right identity and attitude and habits for it. Um, so yeah, guys, yeah, and it's good because this way you can confront the hard truth. I know it's hard to admit it that people aren't just, altruistic, aren't just automatically nice people. They can very easily not be good people, nice people. They can be very selfish. So yeah, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time in the next video. Thank you, guys.